Hi guys, I'm Alana Kruger and this is my presentation on the arts policy of San Diego, California. Firstly, I'll give you some background on the city. San Diego is located in southwestern California, bordering Mexico to the south and the Pacific Ocean to the west. The region was inhabited by Native Americans until the Spanish arrived in the 1500s and founded a fort and a Catholic mission. Settlement outside the mission didn't grow until the 1820s, and the U.S. acquired the area from Mexico in 1846. San Diego was incorporated as a city in 1850, and growth was rapid after that. The city's economy was based mainly in growing citrus and fishing. After the Panama Canal opened in 1914, the town became a center for shipping. This was celebrated with the Panama-California Exposition of 1915, for which Balboa Park was built and still stands as a center of arts and culture, but more on that later. The city has a large military presence, with several bases, mostly naval. Growth in population and economy between 1950 and 2000 seemed exponential. Today, San Diego is one of the biggest cities in the United States, with a population of nearly 1.5 million people. The city is culturally diverse, with a large Hispanic population. San Diego also has a high percentage of college students compared to the rest of the country. The current economy still depends a lot on agriculture and the military, with the more modern addition of technology industries. Tourism also plays a major role in San Diego's economy, being a popular vacation and retirement destination. As far as the arts in the city, a report in 2015 showed that San Diego's arts and culture nonprofits funded 6,656 jobs and brought $107 million in revenue that year. Now that we know about some of the city's history and economy, I'm going to move on to the arts and culture of the city. The Arts Council of San Diego is the San Diego Commission for Arts and Culture, created in the 1980s. The council is composed of 15 members appointed by the mayor and supported by an administrative staff. It has 5 committees, which are the Advocacy and Outreach Committee, Executive Committee, Policy and Funding Committee, Public Art Committee, and the Strategic Outreach and Communications Advisory Committee, though that one is currently on hiatus. The San Diego Municipal Code states, quote, "It is the purpose and intent of the City Council to establish a Commission for Arts and Culture to serve in an advisory capacity to the Mayor, City Council, and City Manager on promoting, encouraging, and increasing support for the region's artistic and cultural assets, integrating arts and culture into community life, and showcasing San Diego as an international tourist destination." The Commission is partially funded by the California Arts Council and awards funding annually to local arts and culture nonprofit organizations and projects. In 2015, the Commission provided a total of $6.8 million to different organizations. They also have a public art program which, quote, "manages art owned by the city, integrates art into capital improvement projects, and ensures the inclusion of art or space for cultural use in private development projects." They also provide artist training, development of public policy related to public art, and advocacy for public art programming. Now I'm going to introduce some of the notable arts organizations in San Diego. There are a ton of them, but these are just the ones that stood out to me. Firstly, there are some larger, more well-known organizations such as the San Diego Ballet, San Diego Opera, San Diego Symphony, and the La Jolla Playhouse. These are pretty self-explanatory and well-known though, so I won't go into them. I am going to touch on Comic-Con, however, because it's such a huge event for San Diego. Comic-Con International San Diego is a comic book convention which began in 1970 and has since grown to the largest convention of its kind in the world, with over 130,000 in attendance each year. The event is held in the Convention Center in downtown San Diego and brings people into San Diego from all over the nation, which is great for the city's tourism economy and horrible for traffic. Comic-Con is a non-profit educational corporation. Their mission statement says that they are, quote, dedicated to creating awareness of and appreciation for comics and related popular art forms, primarily through the presentation of conventions and events that celebrate the historic and ongoing contribution of comics to art and culture. Then there are some smaller arts organizations that I'd like to go into. First is the San Diego Regional Arts and Culture Coalition. It's a membership fee-funded arts advocacy group founded in 1989 that advocates for funding in the arts in San Diego. They strive to educate the public and elected officials about the importance of the arts. Another notable organization is Arts for Learning San Diego. Founded over 50 years ago, the organization is an advocate for the arts and focuses on community arts education. According to them, they train and commission artists of all disciplines to engage directly with diverse communities through vibrant partnerships at the individual, family, school, and community level. Another organization that stood out to me, which is similar to Arts for Learning San Diego, is Outreach San Diego. Outreach is a nonprofit organization started in 2007. They focus on bringing arts education to schools and offer workshops for free or low cost taught by their teaching artists. Since their inception, they've been able to work with over 13,000 youth in San Diego. Sandy Cottrell, co-founder of Outreach, is the managing director of Art Walk. Art Walk is sponsored by Mission Federal Credit Union and is an annual event held in the Little Italy neighborhood near downtown San Diego. It's an arts festival with over 350 participating artists and over 100,000 attendees a year. Over $1 million in art is sold a year. The event also features live music and dance performances. Lastly, I've listed Balboa Park, which isn't an arts organization, but it's home to many. It's huge, so I'll go more in detail in it on the following slides. A huge part of San Diego's arts and culture scene is Balboa Park. I got to work there for 2 months last year at the Old Globe Theater, and the park is pretty awesome. Firstly, I'm going to give some history on the park and what it is. Balboa Park began its life as a largely unplanned and unlandscaped park in 1868 under the name City Park. In 1903, a formal plan was introduced and the park saw formal beautification through 1910. The park was renamed after a Spanish explorer in preparation for the 1915 Panama, California Exposition, which it was to host. The exposition commemorated the opening of the Panama Canal, and many of the Spanish Baroque-style buildings we see in the park today were built for the event. The only permanent structures that still stand are the San Diego Museum of Man, the Organ Pavilion, the Botanical Building, and the Lily Pond. The rest of the buildings were temporary and later rebuilt to be permanent. The world-famous San Diego Zoo, which is directly next to the park, was established the year after the exposition and also remains. After the expo, the park saw the addition of many museums and another exposition in 1935 when the Old Globe Theater and Spanish Village were added. During the war, the park became an extension of the Balboa Naval Hospital, and after the war, the museums continued to be added throughout the decades, and the park was declared a National Historic Landmark in 1977. Today, the park hosts 17 museums and many gardens, restaurants, and other attractions on 1,200 acres of land. Balboa Park hosts 17 museums in total, but I'll just be listing the arts ones on here for the purposes of this presentation. I'm just going to give overviews of what they are. First is the Mingei International Museum, established in 1978. Mingei means art of the people in Japanese and is a museum that displays mainly folk art from different cultures and times. The Museum of Photographic Arts was founded in 1972. They offer photography exhibits, film screenings, classes, workshops, a school outreach program, and a research library available to anyone. Admission is pay what you will, as they aim to serve everyone of any background. The San Diego Art Institute was founded in 1941, gaining nonprofit status in 1963. The institute focuses on showing local work from the Southern California and Baja Norte region in Mexico. The San Diego Museum of Art began in 1926 as the Fine Arts Gallery of San Diego, becoming the San Diego Museum of Art in 1978. Their mission is to inspire, educate, and cultivate curiosity through great works of art. They offer many events and programs such as music, talks, film workshops, and summer youth programs. This is probably my favorite museum in the park, though I haven't been to them all. Next is the Timken. It's a small museum compared to the others and opened in 1965 with funding from the Timken family, who funded the San Diego Fine Arts Society. The art housed in the museum was acquired by two sisters named Putnam in the 30s, 40s, and 50s, who donated their collection to the Fine Arts Society. Admission is always free, and though dated and small, it's honestly a gem, especially if you like medieval art. Lastly, I want to mention the Spanish Village. The Spanish-style village was built in 1935 for the second exposition held at the park. It is a local community of over 200 artisans who show and sell their art in 37 different studios and galleries. They offer workshops, demonstrations, and art classes in all kinds of art, like fiber art, glass art, sculptors, painters, metalsmithing, and more. I never went over to the Spanish Village while I worked there, and now that I've read up on it, I'm kind of mad at myself. Balboa Park is also home to performing arts. The most well-known of these is the Old Globe Theater. The theater was built in 1935 to showcase abridged Shakespeare plays as part of the park's second exposition. The Globe has seen many changes throughout the years, including the addition of 2 new theater spaces. The Globe began producing shows year-round in 1981 and has since gained notoriety for launching shows that end up on Broadway and at the Tonys. The theater itself won a Tony in 1984 for Outstanding Regional Theater and currently produces 15 main stage shows a year. The Globe offers several programs as part of their arts engagement department, including a touring Shakespeare program called Globe for All that visits community centers as well as prisons. They also offer school matinees, tours, seminars, and talkbacks. In 1987, the Old Globe partnered with the University of San Diego for their MFA acting program. The program is prestigious and competitive, only accepting 7 students a year. The Spreckles Organ Pavilion is one of the original structures of the park, built to house musical performances for the exposition of 1915. Free concerts are arranged by the Spreckles Organ Society, a nonprofit founded in 1988. The San Diego Youth Symphony was founded in 1945 and offers many programs and classes for youth. They are housed in the Casa del Prado building and aim to make music education accessible and affordable for all. Lastly, I wanted to touch on another type of performing art in the park, and that's independent street performers. Pretty much every weekend and every day during the summer, you'll find artists in the park. I've seen numerous musicians, dancers, and even living statue performers. Some of these artists are so talented, and they all add to the vibrant atmosphere of the park. So how is all of this funded? Each organization has their own differing funding, so I'm going to speak about funding in San Diego generally. Firstly, government funding. In 2017, the NEA awarded a total of $423,000 in grants to organizations and projects in San Diego. The California Arts Council is also funded partially by the NEA and in turn funds the San Diego Commission for Arts and Culture, which is their state-local partner. The Commission for Arts and Culture is also funded by the city's hotel tax. The hotel tax, or transient occupancy tax, is a 10.5% tax collected from pretty much any rental accommodation that travelers rent for less than 30 days. The city of San Diego budgeted $15 million for the arts from its hotel taxes in 2017. Another way the arts are funded in San Diego is through the San Diego Foundation. It's a charitable nonprofit organization supported by local donors. The foundation specifically has an arts grant called Creative Catalyst that, quote, awards artists with $10,000 to $20,000 fellowships and partners with nonprofit arts and culture mentoring organizations. Lastly, I wanted to talk a bit about major arts philanthropists in San Diego. The major names I noticed for giving in San Diego were Conrad Previs and Donald and Darlene Shiley. Conrad Prebys moved to San Diego from Indiana in 1965 and made his millions in real estate. He was a major donator to many institutions in San Diego, and over the years has donated to the arts through gifts to San Diego Opera, the Old Globe, UC San Diego's Department of Music, PBS's Masterpiece, the San Diego Museum of Art, and more. One of his last gifts before his death in 2016 was a $15 million donation to the La Jolla Music Society for the construction of a new performing arts center named in his honor. Donald and Darlene Shiley are also major contributors to organizations in San Diego. Donald made his millions by inventing the artificial heart valve, and he and his wife have made charitable donations to many arts organizations in San Diego over the years. They have given $20 million to the Old Globe Theater and are major donors to PBS's Masterpiece, and you may even see their names pop up while watching. Lastly, I'm going to discuss two main current issues I found facing the San Diego arts scene. Firstly is budget cuts. Back in May, Mayor Kevin Faulconer proposed a $4.7 million cut to the city's arts spending. His reasoning for this was the city's $80 million budget deficit, as well as changes to the city's pension plan, which will see a steep increase in the coming years. Local arts advocates were quick to protest, demanding the proposal be reversed. City Council member and protester Lori Zapf said on the issue, "Exposure to the arts and culture is a vital part of our human existence. Having a city that fosters and promotes creativity not only produces well-rounded people, but increases the likelihood of success on so many levels, social, academic, and scientific," end quote. Protesters and critics point out that cutting the budget so harshly goes against the city council program called Penny for the Arts, which began in 2012. The program states that arts funding must be 9.52% of the city's hotel taxes. So, as tax revenue increases throughout time, so does arts funding. With the cuts, the arts will only receive 4.5% of those funds. As for a solution to this problem, it's a difficult problem to have. The city needs to find $80 million from somewhere to accomplish everything it wants to in 2018. Also, the city's pension payment will see a $45 million increase. Budgets need to be cut somewhere. I think the best solution is to cut budgets slightly in many different places so no one area gets hit too hard. Now, following the backlash, the mayor did reduce his budget cut proposal by half, giving $2.4 million back to the arts. I think this is a good compromise. It also shows that public arts advocacy can make changes in these issues. As far as what funding looks like down the road, I don't know. The city seems to be in a tricky budget place right now, but at least they reached a compromise about the current budget situation. The second problem I found popped up in a lot of articles. There seemed to be one common theme, and that was that San Diego's support of smaller artists is struggling. One issue is that San Diego is a very expensive place to live, and the city isn't doing much to help out artists financially. One ex-San Diegan artist said he left the city because there just aren't enough small galleries, let alone ones that are willing to sell the art rather than just show it for their own benefit. There also aren't many affordable places for artist studios and galleries. Two affordable artist studio spaces, the Glass House and Union Barrio Logan, were shut down this year because of building code concerns. Small and emerging artists are concerned about being able to survive financially in the city with little resources to help them. As far as solutions, one solution is for local galleries to open up to selling artist pieces. I don't really see a problem with this, as they would still receive the foot traffic they already have. There are already venues that cater to local artists, such as the San Diego Art Institute, but they need to be willing to help out the artists financially to support the community. As for affordable spaces for artists, rent in San Diego is going to be high no matter what. However, there are some people who are trying to provide places for these artists. Architect and artist Robert Leathers founded a nonprofit organization called Space for Art, which strives to provide artists with affordable spaces. Since it started in 2010, they've encountered difficulties as high rises spring up around them and artists leave town for more affordable places. However, Space for Art has recently bought land and is seeking funding to build its own space. Another way to help is to get artists more politically involved. Alan Zeder of the San Diego Regional Arts and Culture Coalition urges the artist community to become more involved in politics. He says there aren't any artists involved in the coalition and that it's only arts organizations. If artists became more politically involved, maybe they could see a change for the better and have their voices heard. In conclusion, the arts in San Diego is a vibrant scene with many organizations and types of art. A major site for tourism, visitors have their pick of the city's arts festivals, museums, and performing arts scenes. They'll also want to visit Balboa Park, which is a major art and cultural center of the city. Funding mostly comes from the state as well as the city's hotel tax and private donors. Although the art scene is not without some problems, San Diegans seem pretty optimistic and are clearly willing to stand up for the arts in their city. This concludes my presentation on the arts policy of San Diego. Thank you, and you stay classy, San Diego.